Bonnie Lipton smiled as she drove her BMW onto the Atlanta highway. She anticipated arriving home a few hours later than planned, blaming it on Atlanta's notorious traffic congestion. Nick's delay in departure proved worthwhile. Nearly a decade younger than Bonnie, he excelled as a lover, handsome, intelligent, engaging, and quick to recover. Bonnie's thoughts then shifted to her husband, Ron, who, at 44, lacked Nick's stamina for a fulfilling bed life. Though Ron relied on experience and familiarity with Bonnie's body, returning to him after Nick brought comfort. She realized she had the best of both worlds, widening her smile. As she distanced herself from Atlanta, thoughts of Nick faded. While he was enjoyable company, Ron and her daughter Casey were her true loves. Bonnie desired to spend time with them. With her libido satisfied, she grasped her moods better. Upon returning home, she planned to be patient and affectionate with Ron, recognizing him as a wonderful person and an outstanding husband. Casey, athletic and intelligent, had numerous friends in sports and school. It was common for 2 or 3 of her girlfriends to hang out at their house on weekends. Bonnie enjoyed their company and sensed they admired her as a role model. Bonnie ensured she was always well-dressed. Holding a prominent position in an architectural firm, she and Ron were respected both individually and as a couple. Ron's dedication to Casey's school events, despite his busy schedule managing the family's successful construction company, was unwavering. Bonnie cherished sitting beside Ron as they watched their daughter participate in activities. She was aware that several other fathers liked to steal glances at her, but she also observed that many mothers eyed Ron as if they were vultures, and he was prey on the road. Even when Bonnie sat next to him, women often found opportunities to chat and flirt with him. Although her attractive husband never seemed to notice, Bonnie couldn't help but notice it all. After spending several hours on the road, Bonnie pulled into her garage only to find her husband's pickup truck missing. It was an unexpected and unusual sight, and Bonnie felt her mood shifting. The least her husband could have done was be home to greet her. Following a grueling business conference and a long drive home, the house was eerily empty. As Bonnie entered the master bedroom, she couldn't pinpoint the cause, but a sickening feeling settled within her. It was nearing lunchtime, yet no one was home. With Thursday approaching and Ron's work and Casey's school obligations, they should have been home soon. Thus, Bonnie unpacked before taking a shower. While pondering Ron and Casey's inexplicable absence, Bonnie recalled that her phone had been turned off since dinner the previous evening. Lost in thought on her way home, she hadn't considered why no one was calling her. Ron might have been upset because she hadn't called to thank him for the string of pearls. The previous evening, when Nick had ignited her passions, she had completely forgotten about him. As she dried her hair with a towel, she switched on her phone. Ron once again congratulated himself on executing a simple yet brilliant plan to surprise and delight his wife. He had been aware of her scheduled conference in Atlanta for months. Bonnie visited twice a year. As luck would have it, this conference coincided with their 20th wedding anniversary. A few weeks prior, Ron had been approached about constructing a large vacation home for a family in Atlanta. After completing the business aspect of the meeting and feeling at ease with the client, Boyd Drake, Ron shared an idea that had recently come to mind. On the 10th of next month, our anniversary, my wife will be attending a conference in downtown Atlanta. I want to surprise her and her colleague with a nice dinner at a restaurant near her hotel, and to make it even more special, I've purchased a pearl necklace to present to her at the table during dinner. Let my daughter handle this for you, Boyd suggested. She's in college now and knows all the best spots in the city. She can ensure that the necklace ends up in your wife's hands. It sounds like you're counting on luck when your wife returns home, Boyd remarked. Why not go to Atlanta with her and deliver it yourself? I've suggested it before, but Bonnie insists she's too busy to spend time with me. She'll likely have a late dinner and return to the hotel to rest the next day. I have commitments here, and traveling all this way just to be ignored seems a bit foolish, Ron reasoned. I have another suggestion, Ron suggested. What if I treat your daughter and her friend to dinner if she agrees to sit at the table next to Bonnie and send me a live video on Facebook? I'd really like to capture Bonnie's surprised expression when she opens the necklace box. I'll share my daughter's contact information with you so you can reach out to her and coordinate everything, Boyd responded. I'm confident she'll be happy to assist with this. Ron arranged for several pizzas to be delivered to his home for a party he hosted to celebrate his 20th anniversary. He extended invitations to his parents, Bonnie's parents, his brother and sister-in-law, and Bonnie's younger divorced sister. They all anticipated witnessing Bonnie's reaction in real time when he surprised her with an anniversary gift. Ron's 16-year-old daughter, Casey, was also present with several of her friends. Ron had arranged everything so they could view the video on the large TV screen. Boyd's daughter will sit near Bonnie inconspicuously and stream videos to me via Facebook Live. She arranged for the waiter to deliver the wrapped gift after Bonnie and her co-worker Sue placed their food order. We'll observe Bonnie's live reaction. Ron expressed with a joyful smile. This will undoubtedly be our best anniversary despite the distance. I've ensured that no sound will be transmitted from our end, so feel free to comment, including praising what a great idea it was. "Who's that guy with his mother?" Casey inquired as Bonnie appeared, hand in hand with a handsome young man. "Didn't you say she'd be with Sue?" "I don't know him," Ron admitted. "He seems to be a close friend," Bonnie's father responded with a harumph and a frown as the couple took their seats. Everyone around Ron's TV easily caught the conversation. "It's nice of your husband to treat us to dinner tonight," the unfamiliar man remarked with a grin. "I'll do my best to make this anniversary unforgettable, at least for you. It'll be even better than your honeymoon." "Then you better order a steak," Bonnie retorted with a grin. "You'll need the strength. My honeymoon was epic." "Is it true?" the man inquired. "Did you have a lover then, or did your husband manage to ring the bells?" "Ron did a great job. Thanks for asking," Bonnie replied. "You're the only lover I've had in the last 20 years. Not counting Ron, of course. Fortunately, he's slowed down. The good news is this. You'll have a much better 20th anniversary tonight than most women. I'll take care of it." "Maybe we've seen enough, sister," Bonnie suggested nervously. "This isn't entirely fair. Bonnie has no clue what we're watching or listening to. Why don't you turn it off, Ron? We wouldn't want to miss Bonnie's reaction when she receives her necklace, would we?" Ron, determined but visibly flushed, asked. "Let's keep watching this disaster unfold a little longer." While the couple placed their order, everyone overheard Bonnie calling her companion Nick. As the waiter departed with the menu, another waiter arrived with a neatly wrapped package. "Look, Ron must have sent me a wedding anniversary present," Bonnie exclaimed excitedly, tearing open the wrapping. "Isn't it beautiful?" she asked, admiring the string of pearls. "Could you help me put it on?" "Of course. Just lean in," Nick replied, carefully securing the necklace. Once he finished, he lightly ran his hands over Bonnie's chest. "Your husband is quite the romantic. You're lucky to have such a handsome man," commented an elderly woman at the adjacent table. "That's true on both counts," Nick agreed with a smile. "She has a romantic husband and a handsome boyfriend." Bonnie shot Nick a sharp look, but the older woman simply chuckled at his remark. "I gave you a pearl necklace last night, which I think looks much better on you than this one," Nick quipped, leaning in to kiss Bonnie on the lips. "That's the difference between a husband and a lover," Bonnie said with a sultry grin. "Husbands give us jewelry, and lovers give us pleasure." "I'm sorry, but I can't continue," whispered the stunning red-haired girl, likely Boyd's daughter, as she turned off her phone. "I should have stopped sooner, but I was so shocked that I froze. I'm truly sorry it ended this way. I'll delete everything from my phone. I have to go." The TV screen went blank, and a heavy silence enveloped the room. One of Casey's friends broke the silence. "It's getting late. We should head out. See you at school tomorrow." "I don't even know if I'll go," Casey replied, tears welling in her eyes. "Dad, can I go home with my friends? I just need to be with them right now." "Of course, honey, I understand. We'll talk tomorrow. Drive safely, girls," Ron whispered, his throat dry. "I'm at a loss for words," Bonnie's mother began. "I think we misinterpreted what was happening. Bonnie loves you, Ron, and is willing to do anything for Casey. Please don't do anything hasty." Ron's other guests echoed similar sentiments as they quietly discussed the situation. After a few minutes of calm conversation, Ron reached a decision. "I need time to think about everything. Please find your way out and give me some space to be alone and consider my options." Once everyone had left, Ron began packing his suitcase. Bonnie was taken aback by the flurry of messages and missed calls she had received since she had turned off her phone the previous evening. As she read through the messages, her heart sank. Her sister and mother demanded to know who Nick was and why she was so friendly with him. They accused her of breaking Ron's heart, and Casey was also very upset. Her mother and sister had sent her at least a dozen messages each. Bonnie checked her messages to see if she had any from Ron, but found none. How did her family discover Nick? And how much do they really know? Where are Ron and Casey? How can she navigate the predicament she's in? She needed to ascertain precisely what Ron was aware of, and what he merely suspected. Bonnie realized she needed to communicate with family members to gauge the severity of her situation. "Mother, it's me. I forgot I turned off my phone last night," Bonnie began as calmly as possible. "I noticed you tried to reach me. Is there something wrong?" Only if you believe losing your husband, alienating and embarrassing your daughter, disgracing your parents, and behaving like a promiscuous woman can be considered wrong. I assume it doesn't bother you much. Otherwise, you wouldn't be flaunting a pearl necklace from your boyfriend, her mother ranted. Ron gave me a string of pearls for our anniversary, Bonnie countered. Why should this upset you? Your father and I have seen enough old adult films to understand what your boyfriend meant when he said you were wearing his pearl necklace. Bonnie's not so straightforward, her mother retorted. Mother, what makes you think I would do something like that? Why do you think I have a boyfriend? Bonnie asked, fear knotting in her gut. Don't play games with me. I'm not stupid, her mother growled. Ron invited us to witness you opening his 20th anniversary gift at the restaurant. He reserved a table for you and your colleague. I believe her name was Sue. We've seen this whole sordid story. Your husband treats you like a queen, and you don't respect him. Husbands give jewelry, and lovers give climaxes, I think you said. Did you hear me say that? Asked a shocked Bonnie. How is this possible? Ron asked a friend's daughter to do some kind of live broadcast from her phone. He wanted us to see how delighted you would be with his gift. Then we were all going to call and congratulate you on your anniversary. Her mother said sadly, Looks like this might be your last anniversary. At least with Ron. Perhaps you'll reunite with your favorite boy once things settle down. Mother, you know I love Ron. That other guy means nothing to me. It was just something to pass the time. These conferences are getting boring, Bonnie asserted. Oh, this changes everything, her mother retorted sarcastically. Ron will feel much better knowing that his wife is not a strumpet and that she was just bored. I assume you left your puzzle at home. Mom, there's no use calling me names. How can I convince Ron that he is the only man I love? You didn't even convince me, so I'd say you have some work to do, Bonnie shot back. Watching you with that man is the worst thing I've ever seen. I highly doubt Ron found it any better. After her conversation with her mother, Bonnie pondered her predicament. Her entire family had witnessed and heard everything she and Nick had discussed at dinner the night before. Recalling her dialogue with Nick, Bonnie realized the severity of her situation. She decided to call Casey. Casey, where are you? Bonnie inquired when Casey answered her call. I'm with Morgan. She's trying to console me because my family is falling apart, Bonnie's daughter replied. We're not falling apart. Please come home so we can discuss this. Where is your father? Bonnie asked, uncertainly. He's moved to a cottage by the lake, Casey responded. I don't think he wants to see you. He was so happy last night when he invited everyone to watch you open your gift. You practically broke his heart when you showed up with your lover instead of Sue. Please come home, Bonnie implored, trying to think of what she could say to Ron to earn his forgiveness. After ending her conversation with Casey, Bonnie began to survey the house. She noticed that a laptop and several filing cabinets were absent from Ron's office. The closet in their bedroom was completely empty. It felt as empty as Hubbard's mother's closet. Bonnie fought back tears as she wandered aimlessly around the house, noting the missing items. Ron hadn't taken a single photograph of her presence. This realization felt particularly disheartening. Seeking a distraction from her crumbling marriage, Bonnie began preparing dinner for Casey. By the time Casey arrived home, she had managed to prepare a modest meal. Casey was sullen and only spoke to Bonnie when directly questioned. Even then, her responses were brief. Bonnie admitted to herself that her daughter had valid reasons to be angry with her, but she hoped that over time the animosity would, if not fully dissipate, at least diminish. At dawn the next morning, Bonnie entered their lakeside cabin to discover Ron slouched uncomfortably and passed out on the small couch. Several empty beer cans littered the floor. Ron, honey, we need to talk. Wake up, please, she urged. Ron slowly opened his eyes and groaned. He rose gradually and, without a word, headed to the bathroom. While waiting for her husband to return, Bonnie decided to brew some coffee. A few minutes later, Ron, refreshed from his shower, joined her in the kitchen where Bonnie placed a mug in front of him. She hoped Ron would initiate the difficult conversation, but that hope soon waned. It was evident Ron had no intention of broaching the subject. Ron, I'm sorry about what happened. I love pearls. It was a wonderful gift that I'll always cherish. It's just a shame I wasn't aware you'd share everything with your family. It would have been helpful if you'd told me, Bonnie expressed. Go to hell, Ron retorted, infuriated by Bonnie's attempt to portray him as the wrongdoer. His response surprised and hurt Bonnie. Throughout their marriage, Ron had never spoken to her disrespectfully. This blatant change was a clear indicator of the pain she had inflicted upon him. That won't solve anything, Bonnie responded calmly. Tell me, How can I make things right? You're the only man I've ever loved who hasn't changed. Together, we can address this. So, what specific issue do you want to resolve? Ron asked calmly. The issue is that I surprised you with an anniversary gift at a nice restaurant where I'd reserved a table for you and a friend. My client's daughter agreed to send a live video of your reaction. I mistakenly assumed you'd appreciate the gesture. Tell me what the problem is, so I understand, Ron explained. You know what the problem is, Bonnie insisted. Last night you saw me with Nick at the restaurant. I've dined with others before. Why do you think that's an issue? Ron inquired. You know perfectly well why this is a problem. I told you I was dining with Sue, but I was actually with Nick. You overheard our conversation and learned we slept together. That's the problem we need to address. To clarify, is the issue that I, along with your entire family, overheard your conversation, or is it that you had lovemaking with another man? The problem lies with my behavior, admitted a flushed Bonnie, realizing she couldn't go on the offensive in her current predicament. You were simply trying to be kind to me on our anniversary. You didn't do anything wrong. Good, we're making progress. Now, explain why you cheated on me behind my back. For how long, and with how many men? Ron pressed. Let's not resort to vulgarity or offense, replied an emotionally overwhelmed Bonnie. Casey is undoubtedly your daughter. Nick has been my sole partner since we started dating. Your remarks about my fidelity and Casey's paternity were needlessly hurtful. I'm struggling to comprehend your reasoning, Ron retorted. You admit to cheating, yet you insist there's a limit to how unfaithful you are. You want me to be polite and understanding, even gullible, when you claim to belong to just one man. Are you proud of your limited infidelity? And for the record, how long have you been involved with handsome Nick? How often did you conveniently forget to disclose these details when denying being promiscuous? This marks the third conference where we've been carnal, Bonnie confessed tearfully, finally sensing the depth of Ron's anger and humiliation. Apart from you, he's the only man I've been with since we married 20 years ago. It amounted to 2 nights together at each of the 3 conferences, Ron noted. Have you ever been carnal with him elsewhere? No, Bonnie affirmed. It occurred 6 times in total, and I deeply regret it. I owe you an apology. Are you suggesting that a young guy like Nick was only capable of once a night with someone like you? He never engaged with you more than once? What does it matter? Queried a disheartened Bonnie. We probably did it 3 times every night. Now, the big question, Ron announced. Why did you engage with another man? Was our closeness so unappreciated, so mundane, so unsatisfying that you sought out a younger, more fulfilling lover? Absolutely not. I was bored and he persistently pursued me. I proved to be weak. It's not about you or our closeness. It's my own vanity, perhaps a midlife crisis. He means nothing to me, I swear. It's evident you engaged with a man who held no significance, Ron reiterated. Did you engage with Mr. Jenkins, the guy from down the street with those absurd shirts? Of course not. I barely know him and I find him repulsive. So he holds no significance to you? Ron pressed on. You just admitted to me that you engage with men you don't love and who hold no significance to you. Jenkins fits that description. So why didn't you engage with him? I didn't say that. I engage with any man who holds no significance to me, Bonnie clarified, distressed. I engaged with Nick because he's attractive, polite, and successful. He pursued me. Are you suggesting that you'll only be unfaithful with attractive, successful men who chase after you? Other than a few of these individuals, are you a faithful wife? If you don't love the men you engage with, doesn't that imply you don't love me? No, Bonnie objected, visibly embarrassed. I'm telling you that I made a terrible mistake, and it won't happen again. I love you, not Nick. How can I be sure of this? Ron asked softly. You made vows at our wedding and on numerous occasions throughout the years to be faithful to me. You're a beautiful woman. Handsome, successful men will always pursue you. I can't trust you. I can't even provide you with the great lovemaking you enjoy so much. Don't ever think like that, Ron. I love making love with you. He's different and makes me feel cherished, Bonnie replied. What about Nick made you keep going back to him? Ron inquired gently. Unclean. Used. Not like a mother or wife. It was the taboo that kept me hooked, not love. What did you do with him and how? Ron asked quietly. Why does it matter? I love only you, Bonnie objected, visibly embarrassed. I have some things to consider. You stand here telling me you love me, not him, but you engaged in carnal relations with him. It's hard for me to grasp that you're willing to do more for someone who means nothing to you than for the person you love, Ron reasoned. You haven't asked me to please you below the belt for a long time. I wasn't against it. I thought you'd lost interest, Bonnie defended, aware of how feeble her words sounded. Yes, what husband would want that from his wife? Especially when she freely gives it away. You assured me on our honeymoon that I'd be the only man you loved, Ron reminisced. You and the handsome guy must have had quite the time with me. Everything was wrong. He never mentioned you. I wouldn't tolerate that, Bonnie insisted. You seem to forget I heard several minutes of your conversation. This idiot insulted me several times, and you went along with it. Remember when he hinted he'd give you a better 20th anniversary than most wives? You didn't object, did you? Why are we wasting time here? Ron demanded suddenly. You found someone new. I accept it. It seems you should too. Why pretend you want to remain married? It's clear you didn't enjoy being my wife, and let's not even discuss bad lovemaking. You're beautiful, successful, and smart, and I bring nothing to the table. It was only a matter of time before you sought something better. Congratulations. You found it. Don't let the door hit you on the way out. Ron, we can't let this conversation end like this, Bonnie pleaded tearfully. We need to discuss everything and find a way back. You can have your lawyer speak to mine. It's over between us, Bonnie. I'm filing for divorce. You left me no choice that day, Ron declared firmly. Bonnie went to work but was confronted in the break room by an angry Sue. Why did Ron inquire about me accompanying you to Atlanta for a conference? You know I stopped attending them after you started spending your nights with Romeo from the Chicago office. I won't be used as a cover for your infidelity. Did Ron contact you? And what did you tell him? I have to admit the truth. I skipped the last two conferences. I thought you had informed him that we were supposed to share a room and attend the conference together, Sue lamented. That's not a concern anymore. Ron found out everything on this trip. I think he's going to divorce me, Bonnie confessed. What else did you expect? Sue demanded. No decent man could tolerate this level of disrespect. I was too blind and self-centered to even consider Ron discovering this, Bonnie replied honestly. He's moved out. Do you realize the choice you made when you slept with that despicable guy from Chicago? Sue asked, her tone softening slightly. I'm sorry you lost Ron, but I warned you this would happen if you kept going like this. I didn't rat you out if that's what you're thinking. I know, Sue. I owe you an apology. I betrayed your trust. I regret not listening to your advice. I don't deserve someone like Ron. Upon learning of Bonnie's infidelity, Ron took a day off from work. He was determined to relocate all his belongings to the lake house before Bonnie returned home. He didn't want to hear her justifications or excuses for cheating. While he dreaded life without Bonnie, he knew he could never forgive her blatant disregard for his feelings or her indifference to loyalty and respect. Her unexpected visit the following morning only underscored the vast emotional divide between them. She offered no words that could ease his pain or facilitate forgiveness for her betrayal. He scheduled an appointment with a lawyer for the following day. The following day, as he prepared to leave the office for a meeting with a divorce lawyer, he received a new email from Bonnie. He debated whether to read it or delete it, eventually opting to open it. True to form, Bonnie addressed the issue directly in her message. Ron felt only despair as he read her confession and plea for forgiveness. It was typical of her to accept responsibility for her actions after reflecting on the situation. She was a strong woman, demanding the best from both herself and others. Feeling hollow, Ron saw no reason to respond to the letter. When Bonnie arrived at Ron's lake house, her sole source of information about Ron was Casey. On Friday afternoon, Casey informed Bonnie that she would be spending the weekend at her dad's cabin, with Ron bringing her home on Sunday evening. Bonnie realized this would likely be the pattern of her life moving forward. She spent a miserable weekend contemplating how she had ruined her life and whether it was even possible to fix it. Had she irreparably damaged her once happy marriage? Upon returning home on Sunday evening, Casey appeared somber. Dad has decided to divorce you. He can't stay with someone who has lost all respect for him. I saw him cry multiple times this weekend. I've never seen him like that before, Casey revealed. Do you realize how much you've hurt him? Maybe your boyfriend is better than Dad. He's not my boyfriend, and he can't compare to your father, Bonnie replied, stunned. It was a huge mistake, and I deeply regret it. Your father is the best man I've ever known. Please forgive both him and me for being doubtful, Casey responded. This isn't the first time you've been with that guy, is it? You've been lying to us for years, haven't you? Bonnie realized it was time to stop deceiving her family. I had relations with him at 2 conferences prior to the last one. It was a mistake, and I apologize, Bonnie confessed. A mistake? That's putting it mildly, Mom, Casey objected angrily. You betrayed Dad in the worst way possible. Didn't you promise to be faithful when you married him? Did you secretly hope it wouldn't count? I know you're mad at me, but not nearly as much as I am at you. Dad is a wonderful man and a great father. You know that. What I did doesn't change my opinion of him. I acted foolishly, Bonnie admitted sadly. As you say, Casey replied before retreating to her room. Normalcy returned between Bonnie and Janet, but communication with Casey became scarce. Bonnie found solace in her job, which remained unaffected, except for Sue's chilly demeanor toward her. She attended Casey's school events, usually alone unless accompanied by her mother, which was the only time she saw Ron. He kept his distance, noticeably so, and other parents took notice. The news of their impending divorce spread quickly through the community, leading to crude remarks and insinuations directed at Bonnie. Meanwhile, Ron immersed himself in his business, finding some redemption amidst the chaos. Ironically, Bonnie would receive half of the business. Despite his lawyer's advice to minimize Bonnie's share, Ron refused, citing her invaluable contributions during the company's early struggles. He insisted on fairness, refusing to deny Bonnie her rightful share. Bonnie was taken aback when her lawyer explained Ron's decision to give her half of his ownership in the business. Previously, during a financial crisis, the company had been sold to Ron's best friend, Dan, who became a silent partner. With Bonnie now owning half, Ron found himself in a precarious position. Tell Ron this is too generous, Bonnie urged her lawyer. He's the one who dedicated his time and effort to the business. If he insists on giving me a share, propose a fraction of what we own. He should retain control to avoid future disputes. Ron remained steadfast. When spring arrived and the snow melted, Bonnie found herself single again and a third owner of Lipton Enterprises. Ron cut all ties with her, even refusing to speak on the phone. Casey expressed her desire to spend the summer between her junior and senior years with her father at the lake house. While Bonnie recognized it as another form of punishment from Casey, she accepted that she had brought upon herself her daughter's disdain. Ron, on his part, was thrilled. He devised plans to nearly double the size of the cottage. Being the owner of a construction company, he effortlessly completed the expansion by the end of July. It was now a 3-bedroom lake house, each with its own bathroom and picturesque lake views. The house had been completely modernized and was now exceptionally comfortable. During the first weekend of August, Ron hosted an open house for his friends and neighbors by the lake, inviting all of Casey's friends as well. Among them was one girl's older cousin who caught Ron's eye. She had a striking blonde appearance that was accentuated by a rather modest 2-piece swimsuit. Throughout the day, Ron couldn't help but notice that she seemed to gravitate towards him. She laughed at his jokes and flirted with him whenever she had the chance. So, Dad, are you enjoying the little bikini party? Casey asked one day when they were alone in the kitchen. Absolutely not, Ron protested. She can't be more than 25, and I haven't even considered getting back into the dating scene. She's 27 and seems quite keen on you, Casey replied with a knowing smile. She's been asking about your relationship status, age, occupation, basically everything women want to know about potential husbands. I just met her today, Ron responded. Don't even mention marriage to me. I tried it once, and that was enough. I'm not implying anything other than her seeming interest. I wouldn't mind if you dated her. She's pretty, kind, and you could use someone to help you move on from your mom. Patty doesn't seem in a rush to get married. I think she's focused on her career right now, but that doesn't mean she's not open to male companionship. Thanks for the heads up, Ron teased his daughter. This girl is too attractive to be interested in an old guy like me. But I appreciate your trust. It means a lot to me. Bonnie's company occupied the top 2 floors of an office building in the business district. At the end of the same block sat a highly popular Italian bistro. She used to have lunch there every Thursday with a few colleagues from work. Because their lunches were informal, they often saw familiar faces dining at the same time. Bonnie and her co-workers had befriended employees from several other companies in the building. One afternoon, the bistro was unusually crowded, and Bonnie's group couldn't secure a table. An employee from Benson Advertising, situated on the 2nd floor of Bonnie's building, invited her group to join them at a spacious table, which they promptly accepted. After everyone exchanged their first and last names for introductions, the conversation commenced. One woman from the advertising team stood out for her attractiveness and amiability. Bonnie found herself enjoying the young woman's sense of humor as the other ladies playfully teased her. We don't all wake up to a rich guy with a big house on Lake Henry, Mary, whom Bonnie recognized, teased. Must be nice to greet the morning sun bouncing off the lake. Absolutely, the young woman concurred, especially when you have a handsome man tenderly waking you up. Getting out of bed becomes such a chore. If that's the guy who picked you up after work on Thursday, I can see why it might be tough, remarked another woman. He seems a bit older than you, but he's clearly in good shape, and he's got a full head of hair, not bad looking at all. He's all that and more, the young woman chimed in with a wide smile. He's a really great guy, and an amazing lover. To Bonnie's dismay, her friend immediately broached the topic she didn't want to delve into. You're not talking about Ron Lipton, are you? Do you know Ron? The young beauty asked, adding, You have to admit he's quite the catch. He's a fantastic guy, but he used to be Bonnie's husband, her colleague revealed. I think we should change the subject. Don't exaggerate, Bonnie asserted, leaning in toward the young woman and offering her hand. I'm Bonnie Lipton. I didn't catch your name. Patty Lawson, Ron introduced her. I thought his ex-wife was stunning, but I figured he was just blinded by love, Patty confessed. Turns out he didn't do you justice. I hope you won't mind that I'm living with Ron now. I certainly can't blame you, or him for that matter, Bonnie responded honestly. You're a beautiful young woman with a fantastic figure. I can see why Ron was attracted to you. I wonder why Casey never mentioned you to me. I can't speak for Casey, but I must say you've raised your daughter well. She's intelligent, attentive, and as lovely as her mother. I always enjoy her visits, Patty concluded. Later that evening, Bonnie broached the subject with Casey during dinner. Why didn't you tell me that your dad has a beautiful girlfriend who's moved in with him? I'd have thought you'd mention something like that. Honestly, Mom, I didn't want to upset you. I know how you feel about Dad, Casey explained. I'm still upset about what happened between you two, but I don't want to cause you more pain because of your mistakes. Patty is actually good for Dad. He seems genuinely happy again. That might surprise you, but I'm glad to hear that Ron's happy. He's a wonderful person and deserves to be with someone who cares for him, even if it's not me. I don't think she's head over heels for Dad, but she really likes him. She's made it clear that her career is her priority right now. I'm focused on making strides in marketing over the next few years. Are you considering dating again, Mom? Are you still in touch with your conference boyfriend? Do you think you could reconcile with him? Casey inquired. I wouldn't consider Nick as a potential partner, Bonnie confessed. He's shallow, somewhat impolite, self-centered, and vain. I never saw our interactions as anything beyond amusement. Yet it turned into a nightmare. Although I was aware of my actions, I shouldn't blame him for my own weakness. Are you interested in someone else? Casey inquired. You're still attractive. I've noticed how some fathers and teachers look at you and make an effort to be courteous during school events. To be honest, I feel like Ron has set the bar high for other men, Bonnie responded with a sad smile. The reasons for our divorce are widely known in the community. It garners sympathy from women for your father and makes men view me as an easy target. Nick probably found it easy, but I won't make that mistake again. I just can't understand how I could betray your father when I loved him so deeply. Casey was taken aback. He always treated you with love and respect. Something must have gone wrong. I've asked myself the same question, Bonnie admitted. I think I started taking your father for granted. I knew he loved me, and I was overly confident in that love. Somehow, this led me to entertain the idea of being with another man, perhaps because I felt secure knowing I had a dependable partner at home. Ron was my rock. I foolishly believed he'd always be there. I thought I could stray a little and he wouldn't notice, and yet my devoted husband would still be waiting at home. I hope you find a man like Ron when you're ready to settle down and learn from my mistakes. Never take more than you give in a relationship. Be faithful, committed, and truthful. If you're considering something that could damage your relationship, talk to your husband about it. I've shown you what happens when you lie and cheat. Occasionally, Bonnie would encounter Patty during lunch. She was surprised by how much she enjoyed Patty's company. She also felt ashamed that she was eagerly awaiting any news about Ron. Casey refrained from divulging too much about her father to Bonnie, recognizing that certain personal details were off-limits to share as his daughter. Meanwhile, Patty freely conversed about Ron with her friends. It's evident that you still care deeply for Ron, Patty observed during a lunch conversation with Bonnie. He never speaks ill of you, but it's clear you hurt him deeply. I won't judge, but I personally couldn't imagine betraying someone I'm in a relationship with. It's hard to reconcile that with the person I see and hear from you. someone who seems to love and respect him. I would urge you to keep that in mind when the initial passion wanes and you're faced with the realities of everyday life, Bonnie responded. I lost my path and paid the price. Love isn't always about excitement and luxury. Sometimes it's about mundane decisions like when to clean the septic tank or what color to paint the house. It all becomes routine, but that's normal. Ron is an upright businessman, a devoted friend, and an exceptional father. I'll always love him, but I betrayed him in the worst possible way. I've learned my lesson. Perhaps a bit too late. Last night, I informed Ron that I've accepted a job offer in Seattle and will be leaving in 2 weeks. It's a fantastic opportunity for me. I've always prioritized my career, but I can see that my news upset him, Patty shared. I'm telling you this so you understand what he's going through and maybe offer him support if he becomes down. He truly is a wonderful man. He may not be my lifelong partner, but I'm sure he'll miss you dearly, Bonnie remarked. Ron doesn't make decisions lightly. If he invited you to live with him, it speaks volumes about how highly he regards you as a person, not just for your looks. Yet he's resilient. I tested his strength, but he emerged stronger. He's made significant progress. Bonnie began with a faint smile. He'll miss you, but he's a great catch, and I doubt his bed will remain empty for long. Yes, that's why I'm sharing this information with you first, Patty responded with a smile of her own. What you choose to do with it is entirely up to you. Just a week later, Ron's closest friend and covert partner, Dan, requested Bonnie's presence for lunch at the bistro. Despite the crowded room, they managed to secure a small table in a corner. After exchanging pleasantries and formalities, Dan proceeded to explain the purpose behind their meeting. You're aware of that plot of land Ron purchased on Route 21 near the river? I've got a buyer who's willing to shell out nearly $2 million for it. Ron practically snagged it for a steal. The profit margin would be immense. Your share as a third owner would amount to over $500,000. Dan elaborated. Ron mentioned that this land could be a valuable investment, likely to appreciate significantly in the future. Do you think he's considering selling it? Bonnie inquired, curious about her involvement in the discussion. That's the issue, Dan responded. He's contemplating offering it for a long-term lease instead. He wants to ensure the contract includes provisions for his company to construct facilities tailored to the tenant's business needs. That sounds like Ron, Bonnie admitted with a grin, acknowledging his astuteness and business acumen. I'm certain he's crunched the numbers and believes his strategy will yield greater long-term gains. What's the concern? My inclination is to capitalize on a quick profit by selling the land. Planning a decade or more ahead is commendable, but I'm more inclined to secure the funds now. You and I each own a third of the company, so together we could push Ron to accept the offer and then distribute our share of the profits. Ron won't lose out. He'll receive $500,000 in cash to smooth over any potential friction, Dan proposed. As Bonnie listened to Dan's suggestion, she felt her frustration mounting. Are you suggesting I betray Ron's trust? Do you think money holds greater value for me than preserving Ron's trust, as you seem to imply? Let me make one thing clear. Ron would perceive this as a complete and utter betrayal from both his wife and his closest friend. This would be the ultimate blow to him, Bonnie retorted firmly. Worse than his wife engaging in an affair with some young guy at a conference? Dan teased. You're his ex-wife for a reason. You've already betrayed him. He divorced you for your infidelity. This is an opportunity to seek a little retribution and, simultaneously, secure a substantial sum of money, Dan reasoned. I acknowledge that I betrayed Ron, and I take full responsibility, Bonnie responded, her anger barely contained. I acted foolishly and selfishly, but I never intended to inflict injury upon him. He deserves better than both of us and deserves far more trustworthy business partners than either of us could ever be. That's precisely why I'll never betray him again. I'd sooner lose every penny than cause Ron further pain. I've already demonstrated that I was a terrible wife, and now you've proven yourself to be a disloyal friend and partner. Ron will have control over my share of the company for as long as I live. In fact, I'll be drafting a new will to ensure Ron inherits my share upon my passing. You should have more faith in his business acumen. With a surge of anger, Bonnie rose from her seat, dropping money on the table to cover her half-eaten lunch. She locked eyes with Dan. Please refrain from attempting to steal from me again. Nearly a month later, Bonnie opened the door to find Ron standing on the porch. She was taken aback by the sight. Ron had intentionally avoided her since the day she returned from the disastrous conference. Ron, please come in. Everything is all right. Casey left a few moments ago if you're looking for her, Bonnie said, feeling a rush of excitement at Ron's unexpected visit. I'm available to talk if you've got a moment, Ron initiated as he stepped into the house that had been his for over 15 years. "Could you spare a few minutes? If you're busy, I can come back later." "I'm not occupied," Bonnie promptly replied. "And I just brewed some coffee. Why don't we sit in the kitchen?" "Thanks for accommodating me so quickly," Ron said, grabbing his coffee mug. "You always brewed top-notch coffee. I didn't even know how to make it when we first got married," Bonnie reminisced with a smile. "It took me some time to get the hang of it." "I didn't marry you for your coffee-making skills," Ron retorted. "You had other qualities that I found much more appealing." "I don't recall you calling them qualities," Bonnie chuckled, "but I do recall you calling them Smith & Wesson on a few occasions." "Yeah, you brought out the big weapons, and I was defenseless against you," Ron admitted. "Patty must have you wrapped around her finger or some other part of her body," Bonnie teased. "She's quite charming. I appreciate how fondly you've treated her. She holds you in high regard. Her opinion of you is one of the reasons why I'm here." A couple of weeks ago, one of her friends overheard your conversation with Dan during lunch. Patty mentioned it before heading out west. She believes your dedication and integrity have been outstanding. I have to agree. Despite how I treated you during the divorce, you flatly refused Dan. Many women whose husbands divorced them so swiftly would seek revenge, or at least recompense. I'd never do that to you, Ron. I understand how diligently you work on your projects and how much they mean to you. I also know you'll ensure this property generates far more revenue than Dan anticipates. He's underestimating you, Bonnie concluded. I appreciate your vote of confidence. Patty helped me come to terms with the fact that you were my partner, even though I often ran the business as if it were solely mine. I want to hear your thoughts and what you'd like to do, Ron stated. If you're inclined to sell this property and split the proceeds, I'm on board. Dan's been pushing for a sale, Ron revealed. I suspect he's short on cash. He believes that selling this land will net each of us $500,000 without cutting into his stake. Is this something you're interested in too? I believe you've got plans for this property that will benefit the company and earn goodwill from the community, Bonnie replied with evident pride. You've never been one to seek quick profits. I've always known you aim to uplift the area while making solid profits. You've got something in mind for this site, don't you? I've been negotiating a long-term lease with General Hospital to construct an emergency care complex here, Ron admitted. It won't yield as much profit as the luxury condo project Dan's firm is pushing for, but it'll still be lucrative and come with a guaranteed contract. Plus, it'll create jobs and foster goodwill. I had a feeling it might turn out this way, Bonnie responded with a hint of satisfaction. You're not just a savvy businessman, but you also invest in the community. That's what distinguishes you from folks like Dan. Dan's all about quick profits, but I don't share that mindset. From what I gather, he pitched his idea to you, and you turned him down. I have complete faith in you, Ron. You've never given me a reason not to trust my judgment. I'll stand by your business decisions no matter what, Bonnie assured. It might sound odd since you've got every reason not to trust me, but it's true. I've been thinking about how Dan's meddling with your business. It crossed my mind that we should buy him out. If he's short on cash, he might entertain a reasonable offer. It'd be a win-win. He'd be content, and you'd have full control over your business, Bonnie reasoned. I've considered it, but I don't have the capital to pull it off, Ron admitted. We could sell this house, Bonnie proposed. I can find a nice 2-bedroom apartment for Casey and me. Over the years, we've amassed quite a bit of equity. The house is nearly paid off, and you've made significant upgrades. It should provide enough to buy out Dan's share now that we're divorced. This is your home. Are you willing to sell it and invest in the business? Ron asked, incredulous. I can't promise when the deal for the urgent care center will close. I can't guarantee you'll see your investment back anytime soon, or at all. Am I looking worried? Bonnie joked. Remember, I was married to you for 20 years. You'll get it all back with interest. If for some reason it doesn't work out, that's fine. I owe you one, Ron. Money will never make up for my betrayal, but it'll keep you away from Dan. I'll agree to this if you move back into the lake house or with me and Casey, Ron proposed. We'll quickly get you your own room with a bathroom. It's been nicely done up. I don't think that's feasible, Bonnie replied sadly. It's a personal matter, not to mention the dating scene and all the drama it'd stir up for you. I didn't consider your social life, Ron admitted. Of course, you wouldn't want to bring a gentleman over when your ex-husband's living next door, especially not that guy Nick. It'd be awkward. I don't go on dates and don't plan to start, Bonnie replied. I stopped attending conferences and haven't spoken to Nick since that disastrous trip. It's you who'll be inconvenienced. No woman would want to spend the night with you when your ex is just next door. With me around, it's highly unlikely you'd find a woman willing to move in with you, though I wouldn't rule it out entirely. I've seen women fall for you. I divorced you because of your affair, and then I moved Patty in with me. Ron posed a rhetorical question. Wasn't my behavior a poor example for Casey? My only justification is that I was feeling depressed and lonely. Another man took my wife from me, and my self-esteem hit rock bottom. Patty managed to restore it. I regret damaging your self-esteem. I wish this hadn't occurred. But I don't hold you responsible for falling for Patty. She's an exceptional woman. You're single and free to pursue any relationship, Bonnie remarked, adding, I don't think I've ever properly apologized for my actions. You weren't the cause of it. It's all on me. I made a huge mistake, and I'm genuinely sorry for the pain and trouble I caused you. You really hurt me, Bonnie. I've never been unfaithful. I lived for you and Casey. I went from having everything to feeling like a complete failure, Ron confessed. Patty helped me realize that while I may not have been a perfect husband, I wasn't the reason for your infidelity. If you weren't happy with our marriage or our closeness, you could have told me. I would have tried to improve if I'd known. I was just naive, not unhappy, Ron continued. You were an excellent husband, a wonderful father to Casey, and a fantastic lover, Bonnie acknowledged. I lost my way and deserved to be unhappy. It might sound odd, but being unhappy brings me some sort of solace. I feel like I'm paying for my mistakes. Perhaps you could at least come and see the lake house, Ron proposed. I'd like to show it to you and get your feedback. I've incorporated some of the ideas we've discussed over the years into the renovation. I think you'll approve. Casey has a volleyball match in 2 hours. Can we postpone this offer? Bonnie requested. Let's check it out before the match. We can go together, Ron suggested, and then I'll bring you back here. Aren't you concerned that people will assume we're back together if we go as a couple? You usually keep your distance from me, Bonnie pointed out. Yeah, I was a bit harsh, but in my defense, you messed up me and our marriage. You couldn't expect me to be friendly towards you, Ron argued. Actually, you were much kinder to me than I would have been to you if roles were reversed, Bonnie admitted. Your settlement offer was overly generous. We both know it seems like your kindness is paying off, Ron grumbled. We're considering selling the house to buy out Dan's share. I still find it hard to believe that you're willing to do this. Honestly, Ron, you can take whatever you want from me. You've always been honest with me. I know you won't damage me, even though I deserve it. Let me give you a tour of the lake house, Ron suggested, aiming to shift the conversation and compose his emotions. As Ron guided Bonnie through the house, she admired the renovations. You've done an amazing job. Casey's room is spacious, and having her own bathroom is every teenage girl's dream, she remarked. When Ron showed Bonnie the second bedroom, she felt it was time to address the elephant in the room. It's a lovely room with another fantastic bathroom, but I can't stay here, Ron. It would be too painful for me to see you every day and be reminded of what I've lost. We'll sell the house, and I'll rent an apartment. I'll be okay. We need to head out soon for Casey's match. Let me show you the master bedroom, Ron urged. It's larger than the others. I'm sure you'll love it. It's beautiful. You've done an excellent job as always, Bonnie complimented, examining the bedroom. That's why your business is thriving. You have an eye for detail. Would you stay with me and Casey if you had this room? Ron asked abruptly. I'd still have to see you every day, and I don't think I could handle it, Bonnie replied sadly. I didn't mean for it to be exclusively yours, Ron explained anxiously. I thought maybe we could share it. Bonnie raised her eyebrows, scrutinizing Ron's expression. Are you asking me to share your bed? Since the day I found out about your affair and left, I've felt awful. I miss you so much it hurts sometimes. You messed up big time. But I slept with Patty for months. That lessened the blow a bit, but didn't erase it. I wonder if we can move past all this and try to be together again. I won't be your doormat, Bonnie asserted. If you want to punish me further, I won't do it. If I move in with you, I'll be completely faithful and expect the same from you. No more young beauties in your bed. It'll be just me, or I'll be gone in a heartbeat. I've worked hard to regain my self-respect, and I intend to keep it. I love you, Ron, but you have to be all in, or I'm out. Casey was taken aback when her parents walked into the gym, arm in arm. She rushed over to them to speak privately. Mom, Dad, does this mean... Casey started, but Ron smiled and nodded before she could finish. Casey hugged her mother tightly and whispered in her ear, Welcome home, Mom. I love you, but don't ever cheat on Dad again. I have a friend with a single aunt who's even more beautiful than Patty.